The breathing darkness. This is not just a story. It is a warning. If you ever hear a quiet twitch outside your window at midnight, don't go out. If you notice your shadow moving a moment later than you, don't look at it. And if you ever hear a whisper that sounds familiar, as if it were your mother's voice, don't answer. Because she hears. Part 1. The Last Correspondence. My name is Alexander. I was an ordinary man, a historian, a researcher of local legends, and the author of several books about forgotten mythologies. In April 2024, I was invited to the village of Vovcherivka, deep in the Carpathians, to explore the archives of an ancient monastery that had been closed since the late 19th century. The monastery was dedicated to Saint Jeremiah, but the locals called it Black Mountain. The village was dead, not literally. There were still a few people living there, but there was such emptiness in their eyes, as if they had long ceased to be part of the world of the living. The children did not play. They did not sing songs. Even the dogs were silent. On the very first evening, I found an old book in the dust of the monastery basement. The cover was made of black leather, which, as it turned out later, was human skin. The book contained the monks' notes, but with each passing year, they became more desperate, more crazy, more filled with fear. The last entry was dated April 17, 1897. She has returned. After centuries, she has found her way back. We have closed the door, but the door is only an illusion. She breathes through the walls. She looks through the mirrors. She approaches from the shadows. We no longer pray. We only beg not to be noticed. But she always notices. I laughed. A typical example of collective hysteria among an isolated religious community. But that night, I woke up to a sound. It was like someone scratching their nails on the glass. I went to the window and saw my own silhouette looking at me from outside. Part 2. The Shadow That Lives. I couldn't believe my eyes. I went out into the yard, but no one was there. The next night was the same. But now my shadow didn't move like I did. It raised its hand when I stood still. It turned its head as if it were looking at something behind me. After the third night, I decided to go to the local elder, Grandpa Mark. He was the oldest in the village, over 90 years old. When I told him what I was seeing, he just closed his eyes and whispered, "Did you see her?" "Who?" "Her. She who lives between the mirrors. The one the monks called the Shadow Mother. She is not a spirit. She is not a demon. She is absence. She eats time, memory, names. If she notices you, you are no longer you." I wanted to laugh, but suddenly I remembered. Last night, I couldn't remember my mother's name. Part 3. The Mirror in the Basement. There was a mirror in the monastery. Not an ordinary one. It hung in the basement, on a wall lined with black bricks made of ash. The mirror was frameless, but its surface was never clean. Always a little foggy, as if someone had breathed on it from the other side. I dared to go there at night. I brought a candle. When I got closer, the mirror didn't reflect my image. Instead, it was a woman, an old woman, with eyes that burned with darkness. She was smiling. Her mouth was much wider than a human should be. Her fingers were long, with claws that clung to the edge of the mirror. I jumped back, but then I saw. In my own reflection, the eyes were black. Part 4. She found me. From that day on, everything changed. I began to wake up in other places. Sometimes in the forest, sometimes in the monastery courtyard. Once I found myself on top of the bell tower, without shoes, with broken knees. But the most terrible thing was the voices. First they whispered my name, then the names of those I loved. My mother, my sister, my fiancé, who died in an accident 3 years ago. Her voice was the strongest. "Sasha, come to me. I am waiting behind the mirror." I barely restrained myself from leaving. But one morning I woke up, inside the mirror. I saw my room from the other side. I saw my bed, empty. I saw myself, but he wasn't me. He was looking straight at me, smiling. And then he said, "Now it's your turn to wait." Part 5. The Phone Recording. This is the last audio file found on my phone. Date recorded, December 12th, 2024. Time, 3:33 a.m. Noise, breathing, trembling voice. I don't know if anyone will hear this, but if so, don't look in the mirror. Don't be alone in a room with a mirror, even if it's closed. She sees. She always sees. My name is. Pause, crying. My name. I can't remember. She takes names. Slowly at first, then all at once. Today I saw my mother. In the bathroom mirror. She was crying. She said, "Asterisk son, get out of there. Asterisk, but I couldn't. Because I don't know where there is anymore and where here is. I hear her footsteps. She's walking. Her shadow is already in my room. She doesn't touch the floor. She just is. Oh God, she's looking at me. She's saying, do you want to see her? Do you want to hug her? Then come here. Just one step. One step and you'll be with her again. Voice breaks off. Long pause. Then a whisper. I'm going. Mom. I'm going. The recording cuts off. The last 3 seconds are just quiet breathing. Then nothing. Memories of someone who reads this. My name is Tatiana. I'm a journalist. I found this text in Alexander's old laptop, which his family gave me a year after he disappeared. It was never found. But in his apartment, in the bathroom, on the mirror there was one word written, hello, by someone's finger in condensation. I started investigating. And now, for the 3rd night in a row, my reflection blinks later than me. Today I found an old child's dress in my closet, the one my sister was buried in. I haven't seen it in 20 years, but it was damp, as if someone had just worn it. And at night, I heard my mother's voice. She said, and at night, I heard my mother's voice. She said, asterisk, dance, come out of there. She's already in your room. Asterisk, but I couldn't move, because the shadow under the bed, she was breathing. Final warning. If you've read this far, she already knows you're here. She knows your name. She heard you breathing as you read this. Look in the nearest mirror now. Don't do that. But if you've looked, and you see that your reflection hasn't moved yet, run. Run before she gets you. Run while you still remember who you are. Because if you forget your name, she'll take you forever.